Hello and welcome to Where the Living Room Used to Be, a podcast about Rhode Island's music scene. John, I wanted to ask you if you could share a piece of musical advice from someone, could be a bandmate or, a mentor, that's another person that was in the scene, another booker, recording engineer, anything like that. But did they give you a piece of advice that stuck with you that you would like to share now?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember there was a show at Squid Amps. It might have been the first Weak Teeth show. There was it was for a touring band called Gods and Queens from Philadelphia, and Paul booked it, Paul DiCiccio. And I remember it was Weak Teeth's first show, so we were going to play first. And I don't remember whether or not it was like that there weren't that many people there, or if like we played poorly, or like what it was. But like after the set, I guess I was audibly grumbling. And when Gods and Queens played, the vocalist Jamie said something in between songs that definitely stuck with me for, Jesus, that was 14 years ago. And he said that everybody was in that room for the same reason, that everyone was part of DIY for the same reason, and that there were no rock stars in our community, and that we were all just there to build each other up and be part of something bigger than ourselves. And that was definitely like an eye-opening experience of just like, not that I ever had the ego of just like thinking I was a rock star, but like to have something put so succinctly and like in such a community minded way was very impactful for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. And I mean, I guess, I don't know why it strikes me with just mentioning Squid Amps, a DIY space, amazing DIY space that was here in Providence. You brought through some bands that have become extremely huge. And, like you mentioned, like You Blew It, Dikembe. What has it been like with your relationship with those folks, and having them kind of pass through, and seeing Dikembe still later, after Squid Amps, like they're still here, like they're still, like there isn't that like, well, we're bigger now, whatever else it is, just talking a little bit about what that experience was like around Squid Amps, and then having these friends that are now doing big things and being peers, and being looked at that same way. So like, I'm sure that they're talking down in Florida of like, yeah, I know John from that amazing band Weak Teeth, and they're like, wow.
It's on the tip of everybody's tongue.
Yeah.
No, but it's very, very cool to see, friends and peers like reach those next plateaus. Like Andy from You Blew It, who he also spent time playing in Dikembe. He plays in a band called Pool Kids, and they are, over the last few years, have been blowing up. Like they did, they toured with like Sunny Day Real Estate. They did some, was it Coheed? I don't remember. There's so many tours that they do now that they're just support, like be it direct support or just tour support or whatever it is. They're killing it. And to know that like there's still friends who are getting after it and killing it, and like, it's just such a cool experience to like know that like, fuck yeah, dude. Like I remember just like chugging beers in, the back of a van with you, like, and so it's just, it's very cool. It's a very cool thing to see people, rise to that next tier, or that next tier, or that next tier. And like, kind of just, there was a very funny, You Blew It story of when they were, kind of on their rise. They played a show in Providence that a I won't name names, but there was a booking company agency. It was just a guy, but he was notorious for burning bands, like
Oh wow, okay.
very, very notorious. And when we found out that he was booking, they were on tour with Coheed and had an off day, and so they played Providence, and this dude offered them an exorbitant amount of money to come and play what was the 201. It was called Deviate at the time, but it was on, was that Westminster Street?
Yeah,
Yeah. And so we hit them up and we're just like, hey, just so you know, like this guy's got a bit of a reputation, and so be careful. And they
Oh,
were
wow.
like, yeah, all right. Like, do you guys want to play? I was like, yeah, we'll play. So it's us, Darklands, and Twin Foxes, and they get their shows going off, whatever. The kid who's booking it is not there.
Wow.
He booked another show across town for Anti-Flag and is at that show because that is apparently the show that's, making him money. And so the kid who was doing the door at our show was like, hey, I have a percentage of what he owes you. If you want the rest of it, you have to go find him.
What?
And I remember their tour manager was rip shit. And so they were just like, do you know where this fucking kid is? Do you know where the show is? And we were just like, yeah, we know where the show is. So all 4 bands rolled up on this dude at his other show.
Yeah.
And so the TM gets out and he's like, huffing mad, and he like walks up to, like he and Chris are walking up to the gate where the show is. And Chris points out and he goes, there he is. That's him there. And the TM goes up and he's just like, hey man, where's our fucking money? And he's just like, hey, how's it going? Like, puts his hand out and he's just like, they have their interaction or whatever. And he pulls out his money and he starts counting it for him. And he like looks over his shoulder and he goes, oh, so you brought weak teeth with you. And the kid goes, yeah, keep counting. And like, so
yeah.
that was a very funny experience of, tangential to your question, but
no, we're just got to take care of business,
Yep.
So,
yep.
On the other side of that, we've talked about it in the main interview of your experience touring and playing music, and you just shared this story, but was there a piece of advice that you've learned from your own experience of doing these things, something that came to you through that experience that you'd like to share?
I mean, I think I realized something in this kind of piggybacks off of the, friends who are like still getting after it and still on the road and stuff like that. Like, I personally don't think that where I'm at in my life, like age-wise, career-wise, mentally, anything, I don't think I'm cut out for long time touring anymore. And I think that that's something that as a musician, like if you're trying to do it, if you're really trying to go for it, be aware of those choices, be aware of the toll that those decisions take on you physically and mentally. Because I don't know if you've seen, there's that meme that's like, you want to go on tour? And it's like, take your refrigerator out of your house, bring it down your stairs, leave it there for 8 hours, bring it back up your stairs, go sit in your closet for another 8 hours with like, it's like that sort of thing where it's like, people kind of glamorize it where it's like, oh, you must go on vacation. Like, nah, dude, tour sucks. Like, and I think that like, that's just something to be aware of, is that like, if you're not physically or mentally equipped for that sort of, road dog, and like, just, take care of yourself.
Yeah. Just be aware of what or I guess not even be aware of it, but just, I don't know why I had this ability to, like, when I was younger. I mean, we have like some other tracks I started playing in bands when I was a teenager, but just be like, I know that I need to do this now. Like,
Right.
like I can go and do college another time, or some other things are going to be there, but like this little window of time, and it just kind of came from like this little, crack in the door of like, oh, some people like your band, James, like maybe I can do this. But yeah, just doing it, because you're absolutely right of like what it takes is, it's not by any means what anyone has ever seen on TV. And even the
Right.
people that you think of on TV, I remember seeing, I think it was in a book that I read about like Jimmy Eat World, when they're on tour and they're like, they're big, they're going on tour in a tour bus, but like what their experience is like is they're sitting in a tour bus outside of a stadium 20 miles from like the closest city, like with nothing to do, like,
Yep.
and I was friends with like Incubus, and they're like, we started a kickball league with like the other bands that are on tour. So it's like Sparta and Incubus would play kickball every day in the arena that was empty, just to like pass time, so
That's
it's
amazing.
like, you can like build this stuff up, but it's not just like, oh, you're doing this. It's like, you're just around these other people, and like if you have a tour manager, you can have, but it's like this very small world that you're around, and missing birthdays, missing holidays, missing, all of this other stuff. It's a lot different. But if it's that thing that's inside of you, but like, go and do it, like I'd still would advocate for it. I still love seeing bands like Dreamwell go out, and they're doing like the month-long tour, and they're just still representing Rhode Island so well, and just go out and take advantage of that stuff, because there's going to be a short window of time. And
Exactly.
But with that, no one can take those experiences away. No one can take these stories away. I mean, I know you've got like a million other stories of stuff that's happened, and just knowing there's no amount of money you can put on that. It's just being able to, like go back when at the end of my life and be like, these are things that I was able to do, and friends that I've made, and when I got married, I had someone come out that I met from tour, like came to my wedding, like that type of thing of like, I would not have known this person if I wasn't on tour,
Absolutely.
and,
Yeah.
So it's like those really cool things. But
if you got it in you, go for it, but be aware,
Yeah.
take care of yourself.
Yes. Eat vegetables.
Drink something besides beer. Water is good, turns out.
Yeah. And last question for this segment here, I always want to ask, like, what inspires musicians, and it can go beyond the music that you're making or what you're writing, but like, what just drives you as a person, John?
I thought about this one a lot. As far as like, music is definitely something that I can't picture not being in my life. Like I sometimes I wonder, like, had I not picked up that accordion when I was, 8 or 9 years old, like what would my life have like looked like? Like what would I be doing now if it weren't for that? And I think that is, I don't know, it's a weird thing to kind of try and like put into words, I guess, of I feel like the inspiration of people and just like people in my life, man, it's like I said, this is tough. This is a tough one. I don't know.
I'm sure your wife would say her.
Yeah, well, yeah.
If you want to, my wife.
Yeah, wife that sounds good. She's my inspiration. She's my muse. Yes, absolutely.
No, yeah, exactly. It's a hard thing. I don't know how I would answer it either. But that's why I'm always just intrigued, just to see the different ways to come at this. Just the world that we live in, and just the world of being an artist. It can always, there's just so many different stimuli that come in that can drive people in different ways. So,
honestly, no, I think it's just at this point, like it's always just kind of been there. It feels ingrained at this point that like if it wasn't there, I don't know. I mean, so I don't know if is it an inspiration, or is it just like second nature at this point, or is it just part of the fabric of my makeup? I don't know. That's a little heady, but I mean, it's definitely I'm gonna you give me a lot to think about here.
All right. Cool. Well, thanks so much, John. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.